From the dung heap, everybody. These are my friends. A lot of them.
Friends.
There he is. Hi, sweetie.
Hello. Good morning, everybody.
And we're live. Hello. SPTV. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good next day, wherever you are. Hello, hello. So I have a special treat for you today. It's a little bit serious of a stream, but I am so happy to welcome back our good friend, literally no one, aka George Massey. Here he is. Hey, it's Giorgio.
Hey, Marilyn. Long time no see.
Yes. George came to visit this weekend. We had a little bit of a mission with Duncan, and so we hung out for a little while. It was really fun, and you guys have a little bromance going on. Duncan said you've been texting all day. I'm like, where is he? I haven't heard from him.
Yeah.
I'm out in the cold, but hi everybody. Welcome. Anna from Canada. Cheryl. Lurking, love George. Yes. If you haven't seen the stream that we did with Cheryl yesterday, you got to see it. It was so much fun. She's a blast, and she's just such an inspiration. Right, George?
Yeah. She's, as I say, my old China mate, my old China plate, which is me.
Yeah, she's a Brit gone American, sort of. Hey, Church of Satirology. We will be featuring some of your creations later, right?
Yeah.
Pretty excited about that. Thank you to everyone who had something to do with what we're presenting today. And George, this was your brainchild, right? After seeing the presentations before the LA Police Department Commission meeting.
Yeah, it was, well, yeah, I don't want to take the credit, but I mean, it was a collaborative effort. There's a bunch of us worked on it. I put together, I mean, we had all worked together previously on the tax exemption video last September. And so I figured that we would use that as a springboard to create a PSA type style video, a public service announcement to put out to highlight and amplify the CANRA issue, which I think is Scientology's Achilles heel that, it's something that they can't deny or escape. They've got away with for years with the priest penitent privilege aspect of, the auditing process and the PC folders. They're supposedly, locked and sealed, and we know that's not true, that they're shared indiscriminately within Scientology. But they always use that as a legal defense whenever, they were confronted with having to, testify in court cases involving child abuse. But so CANRA kind of sidesteps that issue, and discounts that that barrier. Can
you explain what CANRA is and what it stands for, and kind of?
So okay. CANRA is stands for the Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Act, which basically lays out in law the mandatory reporters and who are subject to mandatory reporting. And for a long time, you know, the law's been on the books for, I think it began in the late 60s. And each state has adopted it, their own version of it over the years. I wrote down in 1981, it was adopted by California. But there were exclusions, you know, as to who was a mandatory reporter. And one of those exclusions were clergy. In 1997, California revised their CANRA legislation to include clergy. And that's when Scientology went into a 10-hill flap mode and launched an internal operation to issue orders to all the auditors and Sea Org members that any reports that went through up to RTC or OSA at the time and would substitute keywords involving child abuse with Scientology's was, you know, instead of sexual abuse, or it would be 2D, something that wouldn't easily be interpreted by any law enforcement, right? So they kind of, there was a big operation. This was brought to light in the Danny Masterson trial when Claire Headley testified and was asked, you know, and went into a little bit of an explanation about what happened in Scientology in 1997 under the auspices of RTC and OSA. That they, you know, they launched this operation to, you know, to scrub all their records and to move forward with revised language as it was, you know, to avoid implications of or allegations of, you know, in violation of CANRA laws. So yeah, it kind of explains a lot to me. My focus with literally no one, you know, was around child abuse and amplifying the voices of second generation of Scientologists. As it resulted, you know, as it related to child abuse, and Miriam Francis being the prime case, that's where my radar went up and the alarm bells started ringing for me in a serious way. Not so much Miriam's testimony to the rabbit stream, but the reaction to it. That's when I thought there's something, you know, seriously wrong here and something going on. And you know where that led me. You know, I decided to write a letter, and that was as far as it went, as far as I was concerned at that point. And it kind of escalated from that into a full-blown YouTube channel. Well, not that I've been particularly active, but you know, and it was well received within the community.
Yeah, you've gotten absolutely.
You know, not a mountain of subs. I wasn't really that bothered, but you know, because it's not monetized. I never wanted to be intended to monetize, and I, you know, I wasn't looking for any sort of monetary reward or and clout chasing. I wasn't looking to grow the channel. I was just looking to get the message out. And you know, as
let me show your channel.
Yeah,
so this is literally No One SP, and you have quite a few videos that you have done.
Yeah,
they've gotten a lot of views.
Well, that's what surprised me. I have, I think I had like around 1,700, 1,600 subscribers, but the views were like up to 5,000, 6,000 in some cases. So the feedback was really positive, mostly positive. There was a certain camp within the community that took umbrage at my content. And you know, we know where that came from and what the cause of that was. But you know, so be it. I mean, I think my mission statement, I can't read it on the screen because I'm wearing my glasses.
Yeah, I'll read it.
But
I
I
just
think,
didn't want to interrupt you. Description is an independent channel focused on amplifying and supporting the voices of the children of Scientology, supporting all advocacy efforts to address the abuse of children within the cult, past and present.
right.
And your email.
So, you know, when I saw the video that Aaron put up about the LA commissioners meeting, right, and their presentation to the LA commission, LAPD commissioners, it, you know, it fit perfectly, it dovetailed perfectly with the literally no one mission statement, right? That to so I figured, you know, this is something that fit. It was within my wheelhouse, right? Of my my experience and my focus within SPTV community. So I figured, let's do something with this. And I reached out to Aaron and asked, you know, look, I want to do this. You know, we did the tax exempt video. I'd like to do something along those lines.
Yep.
Are you okay with that? And he goes, yeah, go for it. You know, do your thing. And, you know, I called back on the team that we worked with originally and said, guys, are you guys up for this? I'd like to do this. And everyone jumped on it and said, yeah. So, you know, I used the script that I'd written before and rewrote, you know, pieces of it to fit the CANRA message. And that was really my contribution, right? And then Kelly jumped in and waved her magic wand and turned it into the product that we ended up with. You know, Kelly's like far superior than the best I've ever seen in this community for sure of video editing. You know, she's got
Absolutely. Yeah, she's a legend.
Such a good eye for content and creation. And then Liz agreed.
Yeah, I was going to say, everybody will recognize the narrator.
Yeah,
her
Liz
voice.
Gale had done narrated our previous video. At the time, I felt it was important that we had an ex-Scientologist and a second-gen ex-Scientologist at that. And Liz was more than keen to join.
She's a third generation.
Well, it fits in with her educational background, right? She studied,
Yes.
she went to school for early child development, and, you know, she's very well aware of CANRA and all the issues surrounding it. So it was a perfect fit for her also.
Absolutely.
And then I wanted to include some Hubbard quotes. And I knew that the Church of Scientology had done some Hubbard videos, spoof videos, right? And I knew that he had the skills to, you know, create any audio we wanted in Hubbard's voice. So I asked him to do the Hubbard clips, and he did that for me. So yeah, it was, you know, it involved a few people. It's not just me, for sure.
Well, you want me to play it?
Sure. Let's watch it.
All right, let's do it. And definitely trigger warning, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Get it ready?
What is Scientology? Are you curious? It's okay to ask. It's okay to look. Just look for yourself. Many people have escaped and spoken out, and many books have been written, as well as documentaries like HBO's Going Clear, and TV shows like Leah Remini's Scientology and The Aftermath, and even Time magazine. In the past 2 years, many have joined the battle to expose Scientology on YouTube, with over 200 channels currently on offer. The information is out there. You just need to look for yourself.
Cobalt, because damn, like you said, it's like, in what world was I writing down? When I was 16, I was put into the RPF, the so-called hole, with self-admitted PEDOs. And I was made to be the twin of a self-admitted PEDO. These people are allowed to say that they were confused and this is why they became, it's like, what is this? What in the hell was I doing in my formative years?
The list is an art project, a 75-foot scroll that details almost 200 children that were born into Scientology that have since escaped and spoken out, as well as those who have passed before their time. Scientology launched in 1953 as an expansion of the best-selling book Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health, published by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard in 1950. What began as a self-help philosophy was soon converted to a religion to capitalize on the financial benefits that entailed. Scientology's tax exemption was revoked in 1967. Scientology fought back, and Operation Snow White was launched, resulting in the largest infiltration of the government in U.S. history and the targeting of IRS agents personally, with lawsuits and other forms of harassment. In 1989, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Scientology services constituted a quid pro quo agreement and were not eligible for income tax deductions in the Hernandez versus Commissioner case. In 1993, IRS Commissioner Fred Goldberg caved to the pressures of Scientology and reinstated their tax exemption, despite the 1989 Supreme Court decision, and writing off $1 billion in outstanding taxes, while also providing Scientology with religious protections under the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution.
Because on October the 1st, 1993, at 8:37 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the IRS issued letters recognizing Scientology and every one of its organizations as fully tax exempt. The war is over.
Child abuse. Children as young as 9 years old are pressured into signing a Sea Org contract, committing them to 1 billion years of servitude, lifetime after lifetime. The teachings of L. Ron Hubbard deny the very right of children to be children and claims they are reincarnated adults in little bodies, leading to acceptance and proliferation of all forms of child abuse, including sexual abuse.
For many years, I have understood that the sexual abuse of me was known and covered up by Scientology, but I didn't know the depths of it. I didn't know the details of how it was done. Now I understand that the cover-up was by design at all levels of the organization, from the bottom to the top.
It is a high crime in Scientology to report another Scientologist to law enforcement.
Any person who seeks to suppress Scientology or Scientologists by an action such as reporting it to civil authorities for criminal or fraudulent activities is committing a suppressive act.
Such action results in the parishioner being declared a suppressive person, and Scientology's disconnection policy is immediately implemented, meaning the loss of contact with all family and friends that remain in the organization. If the offender continues to speak out, Scientology will apply their fair game policy.
May be deprived of property or injured by any means by any Scientologist without any discipline of the Scientologist. May be tricked, sued, or lied to, or destroyed.
Due to the public relations backlash, Scientology claims that fair game was canceled in 1971. However, there are many cases that demonstrate this assertion to be false, and fair game policy remains in full force to this day. Hubbard's policy letters are deemed unalterable scriptures by Scientology. Many other religious groups have faced prosecution for cover-ups over the years, but this has mostly occurred as a result of a conspiracy of silence within those organizations. In the case of Scientology, these criminal activities form part of their holy scriptures, which is a direct contravention of the U.S. legal system. While Scientology invokes First Amendment protections resulting from their tax-exempt status, the religious protections of the First Amendment do not extend to protection from criminal prosecution. The Child Abuse and Neglecting Report Act, or CANRA, is the law in 48 states across the nation, including Florida and California. CANRA enforces a legal obligation on individuals and organizations working closely with children to mandatory reporting to civil authorities or face criminal prosecution. On February 25, 2025, a number of ex-Scientologists and their advocates attended the LAPD commissioners meeting and provided statements that were entered into the record. The following is a compilation of excerpts from their statements.
My name is Jenna Miscavige. My uncle David Miscavige is the leader of Scientology. I was born and raised in Scientology. Just before my second birthday, my parents moved our family to Los Angeles to join Scientology's most dedicated group, where they signed 1 billion-year contracts, dedicating all of our souls, lifetime after lifetime, to Scientology. Joining this group meant I would never live in a home with my parents for the entirety of my childhood. It also meant being deprived of an education and being worked for long hours each day, digging trenches, hauling rocks, and being exposed to dangerous chemicals and handling asbestos, all before the age of 12 years old. The ones who suffer the most are the children of Scientology's parishioners and staff, because they cannot protect themselves and they don't know any different. I was one of those children, and there are so many others. I'm here today to make sure their voices are heard. This letter was copied to Scientology's Legal Affairs Office, Scientology's Chief Ethics Officer, as well as to the chaplain and the file of the alleged predator. Where was the mandatory reporting to the proper authority?
I can tell you from personal experience of having been a Scientologist and a Sea Org member, it is 100% directly against Scientology policy.
To ever report another Scientologist to the civil authorities at any time for any reason, including child rape. Reporting another Scientologist to the civil authorities gets you expelled from Scientology. Raping doesn't get you expelled. Reporting it does get you expelled. CANRA is the law of the land. This is the standard we are asking Scientology to be held to. It is the standard all the religions are held to. We ask that a grand jury be impaneled in LA to investigate cover-up of child sex crimes within Scientology.
Thank you for watching. However, we have barely scratched the surface. We would appreciate your help in getting this message to a wider audience. Please send a link to this video expressing your own thoughts to your elected officials in Congress. Also, if you live in a city with a Scientology presence, please consider sending this to local media outlets and law enforcement officials. The time has come to shine a spotlight on and investigate the crimes of Scientology.
Elon Musk, who the president has...
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, that wasn't me, I don't think. Yeah, I would just like to ask everyone that, you know, if that video moved you in any way, please go and look at the full speeches and the presentation at the LAPD commissioners meeting. You can find that on Aaron's channel, Growing Up in Scientology, as if I need to name it. I mean, everyone should know that by now. And also Jenna did a video dedicated to where she read out all the speeches, which is where we got that clip of her face to camera clip from. When we put this together, you know, we had the video footage from Aaron's channel of the meeting. But I said to Aaron, well, and Jenna and Serge, I reached out to them all and said, you know, we'd like to include a clip of your speech with a face to camera so that it humanizes you for anyone that isn't aware of who you are. The idea of the video is to reach people outside of this community, right, and not as familiar. And that's why it goes into some of the basics of Scientology to explain what Scientology is and the history of the tactic status. I think one of the key components and differentiators is that, you know, people will say, well, you know, there's child abuse in every religious organization, you know, in the Catholic Church, for example, or whatever, you know, the Mormon religion. The fact of the matter is that, you know, when that occurs in those religions, it's an aberration. And yes, it needs to be brought to the surface and held to account. In the case of Scientology, it's written into what they call their holy scriptures. It's part of their doctrine that you cannot report to civil authorities, right? And that's where, you know, the tax exemption, they make a mockery of their religious status when they are basically, you know, approving of child abuse and sexual abuse, you know, as part of their doctrine, which is unalterable. It cannot be changed. If LRH wrote a policy letter, that's considered Holy Scripture, unalterable Holy Scripture. Nothing like that exists within the Catholic Church or Mormon religion or any other Christian-based faith organizations. So, you know, I think that's the major differentiator, and why I believe that, you know, Congress should look at Scientology. They're in direct violation within their scriptures of federal law and state laws around the country. So yeah, I don't want to belabor that point, but I just wanted to make sure that that was clear to everyone. My involvement with my focus on with the Literally No One channel has been to amplify the second generation Scientologists, ex-Scientologists, because to me that's the key issue in Scientology. Now, you can say there are abuses across all age ranges within Scientology, and that's true, there are. However, when it comes to children, you know, so the argument is, well, these Scientologist people, they chose this. If they want to, you know, subject themselves to this torment and torture, then that's up to them. They're willing participants. The children were not willing participants. They had no say. They were forced into this. And so that's where I think the rubber meets the road. And, you know, the horror of it kicks in, is for me anyway. And it should resonate with everybody that has, you know, looks at this. Anyway.
Yeah. There's a lot of things I was thinking of, like when you said that it's kind of baked into part of their doctrine is to not report these things. Pretty much any religion can practice that kind of justification, you know, based on like Christianity. There is a scripture that says you're not supposed to bring your fellow brethren to court. You're supposed to go to the elders of the church. And of course, that is absolutely disgusting to use that as a justification for not reporting such terrible abuse. You know, it hasn't been used as a justification in the courts because, of course, you know, the Catholic Church and other churches, like I won't really call it a church, but the Jehovah's Witnesses, they have covered up literally thousands of cases of child abuse, child SA, which is the most egregious thing I can think of. So I'm glad you're here with me because I just want to start bawling because it's very hard to talk about. But I really commend you and Kelly, Liz, and everyone else that was Church of Scientology, everybody that was involved in making this video. Of course, Jenna, Aaron, Serge, everyone who brought it to the attention of the commission in LA. So it really needs to be amplified. So if everyone can please share this video, even send the link to your congressman if you're in the US. We've got to get it out there, you know.
Right. Yeah, spread the message as far and wide as possible, and bring it to the people that, you know, people that have the power to take action. You know, yeah, absolutely, the Mormons too, but you know, this is a Scientology space, you know, so yeah. And the Mormons have their own platforms and very active, you know, different YouTube creators and support groups of their own to address that within their own faith.
Yeah,
So,
I think I just think it's important. It's doesn't hurt to bring up the fact that it's not just Scientology that does this, because it's like an epidemic, you know. But
yeah,
Scientology in practice and in particular has been able to just hide, you know, and cook the book, so to speak, you know, change up their documentation and everything else. I mean, they have their own language, which is just
yeah.
crazy. It's
Well,
crazy.
yeah. I mean, I wanted to touch on how this kind of suddenly popped up out of seemingly out of nowhere. It didn't really pop out of nowhere, but it's been given an extra focus, which it came about as a result of the Danny Masterson trial, when in the process of discovery, they seized a hard drive with a bunch of Scientology documents on it.
Yeah.
And the LAPD investigated and pulled out everything that related to the Danny Masterson trial rape. But they overlooked this a letter that was found by the prosecution team. That was the letter that Serge read out in LA at the commissioners meeting, where, you know, it's within their knowledge bank. The LAPD have this document and they've had it for a few years and they haven't taken action on it. So they can't plead ignorance at this point, you know. Sure, it could have been overlooked, but now it's not. It's been brought to their attention, you know, by Aaron and Jenna and Serge and the people that put that presentation together. So yeah,
And the press was invited, so that's good.
there's nowhere left. Right, the LA Times were brought into that meeting
Mhm.
specifically to cover that aspect of that meeting. And there's nowhere left to hide for the LAPD or Scientology now, you know. And I think that if anyone is interested or has a desire to, you know, expose Scientology and help bring Scientology to account, this is a key factor, you know, that highlights some of their misdeeds. You know, we've had people in the community, I want to choose my words carefully, but that have played down the child abuse aspect of Scientology and have literally denied knowledge of any occurrences. These are senior executives within the Church of Scientology that were fully engaged in 1997 in the scrubbing exercise that they went through.
Yeah.
I think I'll leave it there. I don't want to go deeper than that, really.
Yeah.
But I think anyone that knows me and knows anything about my channel content understands what I'm talking about. So, yeah.
I don't believe it's out yet. Did I miss the LA Times article? I don't think it's out yet. I haven't seen it either.
I'm not 100% clear on that either, but I'm sure we'll know about it when it does get released. And
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just keep exposing it and talking about it. And it's the law. So, you know, it needs to be. Hey, Kelly. Hi, sweetie. Glad you're here.
We've been talking about you. Your ears burning.
Yeah, we were. Amazing job with this. You all did a great job. And yeah, I hope it gets shared far and wide. And I do have some things started if you want me to pop them up. We got JoJo. It was great seeing George out with Aaron and Jenna in New York. Yeah.
That was a really fun day. It was kind of like a last minute thing. I think the night before, I was working backstage for him, and I didn't realize he was going to be in New York. I don't think until that stream, and And then after the stream was over, I said, "Hey, you do realize, like, that's my neighborhood, that's my area, like, that's my stomping ground." Was the expression I used. He goes, "Oh, really?" I go, "Well, you know, if you got time for a coffee, maybe we could meet up." And yeah, it was really good time spent with them and getting to know them better. And yeah, it was unexpected for me that I would get to have that much time with them. So yeah,
that's awesome.
great fun.
Yeah, I saw you in Jenna's video that she did about friends, and I loved that video because it was just it had some of everything. It had like very like Zen, you know, flowers and all that. Yeah, I loved it.
Well, that's
It was a great
Jenna's
video.
style. Right? She's a major
Yeah,
asset to the community, obviously.
absolutely.
And yeah,
Yeah.
such an amazing person.
I have some questions for you. Jojo wants to know what made George move to America.
Oh, that's a long story. Well, I mean, keep it short. I in 1988, I was working for a firm. I'd been with them for a few years, and they had a special project that I was qualified to execute, and they sent me over on a 2-year contract. And the first year I spent in Seattle on the West Coast, and then the second year I moved to New York to continue the project. It was a transition project, and the transition was managed in the first year, and then I had to set up the operation in the second year in New York. And I met my wife, and that was it. I was due to return after 2 years. Well, it's been 37 years now, and I haven't returned yet. So that's how it came about, just through work.
Angie said, "It's our wonderful mod, George. Lovely to put a face to a name." Oh, so she hadn't seen you. You've been on my channel a few times.
Appearances. I'm not big on. I'm not keen on going on camera, but you know, when I need to, I will.
Sometimes I drag you on.
Yeah, or sometimes I butt my way into on your streams.
That's okay. I love it. He said, "Oh, this is about your channel. Of course, it's well received. Your videos are superb and very informative. I agree. You deserve more subs." Yeah, so let's put your channel back up. So we're touting 2 channels today. We're promoting Literally No One and Scientology, The Real Truth.
Yeah, I think the focus is Scientology and The Real Truth, the collaborative effort.
I know, but I like this one.
But you know that the idea of that is to provide tools for this community to use to go out and deliver the message to a wider audience, right? And that's why a lot of the information in those 2 videos that we've done so far are very overly descriptive of what Scientology is, because it's with the idea that we're presenting this to people that have no knowledge, right? They just have no understanding of Scientology. So we just want to throw some facts in there to introduce them to Scientology, and then from that expand onto the topic at hand. Yeah, so I mean, the content isn't. Whenever we do, it's worth subscribing to, and you're not going to get inundated with content. You might get a video every couple of months or every 6 months even, just to push a message out, really. Right, but it's there as a repository for tools for people to use. The idea for me was, like, when I talk to friends and family and I tell them about my involvement in the ex-Scientology community, they're like, "Well, what's the problem? Why are you so upset about Scientology?" And I start to explain, and it's sort of blah blah, fair game and disconnection, and their eyes just glaze over. They're like, "I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking gibberish," and it doesn't resonate. They just tune out immediately. So I think that the idea is to do like these little elevator pitches to people that are not informed about Scientology and some of the abuses. So,
Yeah, and I think focusing on the children is important because
right.
we all know they can't consent. So
Right, exactly.
Yep.
Kids can't consent, and that's the big message.
Rib guys said thank you to all that put this together. Your effort is appreciated.
Thank
Definitely.
you.
And Kelly's in here. Helicopter, everyone who worked on this was amazing. I just glued it together. Yes, you do. Great job just pulling it all together, making amazing presentation of it all. Thank you, everyone who continues to support what we are doing. Absolutely.
Well, I put together the bones of it, and Kelly dressed it with some amazing artistic talent with her visuals. I mean, yeah, I think the credit belongs to Kelly more than any of us, to be honest, because she came up with the final product.
Yeah, she makes it look so easy. But it's not, for sure.
I know it's not. I do it myself, right? You look at my videos on literally and I was speaking, I think, to Aaron, and I said, I don't really like my own videos. I said, they're very flat, like boom, 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 like a PowerPoint presentation. I said, Kelly just like makes them like spring to life,
like a documentary. No, I love your videos. They're very flow. They flow. They're right to the point. You got the your little cheeky, sarcastic humor here and there. I love it. I really do.
Right.
Everyone has their own style. Yep. So, all right. Is there anything else you wanted to tell us today? I have a few other starred questions, I think.
Yeah, no, I think I pretty much covered it. I would just hope that like people are incensed by Scientology's abuses, use this video to push the message out to a wider audience.
Yeah.
Like I think in the video, if you look at, it's important that you look at the description. There's a link in the description to the full speeches, and I would recommend that anyone watching this or looking at that video go and listen to the full speeches, because everything is laid out there by Jenna and Aaron and Serge, and we only included little excerpts as a teaser, but it's really important to go check out the videos, and you can find links to the two main videos about that LAPD commissioners meeting. That's included in the description. And also, if you're a US citizen, how you can use the video to push the message. If you're non-US citizen, how to push it. And also, if you're a YouTube creator, we would ask that you include a community post, or they call it post now, not community post, but with a link to that, to the Real Truth video, just to like make sure that we saturate the community with the message.
Thank you, everyone, for subbing. We appreciate that. Never and Aaron, are you there? Thank you, Nova. That's my homie George, Katie says.
My real life mate from Ireland, Katie.
Awesome. Kelly says Scientology's clergy are mandatory reporters. Yes, actually, Kelly has a video about that as well. You should check it out. They're legally required to report suspected or known child abuse. There are hundreds of kids that deserve answers. 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And another point is that, and this speaks to a lot of the content on my channel, is that there are penalties, including imprisonment, for anyone that's found that is a mandatory reporter that is found to have been covering up these crimes, or
yeah.
I don't want to say too much, but if you know my content, you know what I'm saying. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't need to know, probably. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good for people to know. and
Yeah.
you've done a lot of work, and we all appreciate you very much.
Well, I don't think I've done a lot. I've done my best and as much as I can within my own limitations. But yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we'll have to have you back on and a more cheerful subject.
Yes, I've been given
But-
instructions to learn the Gamyang style dance move. But that's not appropriate for today. But I've made a promise that I will learn the move, and we'll come back at some time some point in the future.
So we have to explain a little bit because that was so random. But when you first got your flying monkey T-shirt, you did like a little. Yes, there's a little short with you doing a little like twerking kind of thing. It's Suspiria. She said, "Oh, we got to get another dance move for you, like the gang." How do you say it? Gangnam Style.
A couple of people on Jenna's video, the New York video she did, and there were a couple of people that goes, "Oh, George, I saw George," and then I'm like, "Really? You spotted me?" Like, not many people know what I look like, right?
Right.
And it's like,
Yeah, no
George
people
is
do.
such an angel. I said, "Listen, don't mistake my wings for feathers. They're fur. I'm a flying monkey, according to some. Don't mistake my flying monkey wings for an angel. I'm not an angel. I don't claim to be an angel."
Well, thank you so much for everything you do and everybody that is involved in making this video. Thank you very much, and please share it. And yeah, let's get the word out. Let's keep the fight,
hopefully.
right?
Well, and it's going to be there, whenever this topic comes up, that's going to be there, sitting there as a tool. That anyone's got questions or wants to push a message, then those tools are there and available for anyone to use, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Suspiria, putting all these up.
We
should do a game night. That'd be fun.
I'm not ready for prime time.
Oh, I'm terrible with any kind of trivia. That would be awful because I don't know anything.
I don't think Aaron would. No, I'm good. I'm good in this. That's outside my comfort zone in a big way. So
we should do a small version of it, maybe on my channel.
Yeah, maybe right.
All right. Yeah. I guess we'll wrap it up here, and we'll be back on again, I'm sure. And thank you everybody for being here. I'll play the outro. We'll see you later. Bye. Xenu, Marlene, everybody partake. Cheers. This is good coffee. This is why, my hubby makes the coffee.